Welcome back to our channel, World Coins History. As you knew that old is gold, but these rare Jefferson nickel that are most valuable than you think, don't spend one of them, so please watch complete video and find your treasure. Let's start this. Top 1. Today, we're diving deep into a coin that might just be hiding in your drawer right now, the United States Jefferson nickel from 1964. Now, at first glance, it might not look like anything special. It's just a 5-cent coin, right? But don't be fooled. The 1964 Jefferson nickel holds secrets. Some versions of this coin are worth far more than their face value, especially if you know what to look for. Let's begin with a little background. The Jefferson nickel has been part of American coinage since 1938, featuring the third President of the United States, Thomas Jefferson, on the front, and his iconic home, Monticello, on the back. The 1964 issue marks an important point in U.S. coin history. That year, the U.S. Mint was dealing with a nationwide coin shortage, and in response, it massively increased the mintage of nickels. Billions were made. In fact, 1964 was the last year that the date on Jefferson nickels was not updated for several years to discourage hoarding. For 5 straight years after, from 1965 to 1967, all nickels bore the same date. Because of this, the 1964 nickel is one of the most common U.S. coins ever minted. So why are collectors going crazy over it? Here's where it gets exciting. Even though billions were produced, not all 1964 Jefferson nickels are equal. Some coins stand out due to rare minting errors, special die varieties, and the elusive full steps designation on Monticello. Let's talk about full steps. On the reverse side of the coin, Monticello has a staircase. A full steps nickel shows all 5 or 6 steps sharply struck with no breaks. Finding a 1964 Jefferson nickel with full steps, especially in uncirculated condition, is extremely rare. Why? Because worn dies and fast production speeds made it hard to strike those details cleanly. Collectors will pay a premium for a coin that shows those steps clearly, because it means the coin was struck with precision and has been well preserved over time. But there's more. Some 1964 nickels have rare die errors that make them dramatically more valuable. Keep an eye out for these: double die obverse, DDO. Some coins show doubling in Jefferson's I lettering, or even the date. This error occurred during the hubbing process, when the coin die was struck more than once at a slightly different angle. Off-center strikes. These are coins that were misaligned when struck, causing part of the design to be missing and off-centered. Die cracks or cuds. These are raised lines or blobs on the coin caused by damaged dies. Unique and visually striking, they attract collectors of error coins. And then there are coins that were struck on the wrong planchet, for example, struck on a 1-cent blank instead of a 5-cent one. These are extremely rare and can fetch serious money, but let's not forget condition. A 1964 nickel that's been rolling around in your change for years is likely only worth its face value. But a coin in mint state, especially those graded MS-65 or higher, can command surprising prices. Add full steps or a rare error to that, and you're holding a small fortune. So now, the big question: how much is a 1964 Jefferson nickel really worth today? Well, most circulated examples are still worth just 5 cents. But coins in high mint state condition with full steps can sell for up to $3,000. And rare error coins? Some of them have gone for $5,000 to $10,000 at auction, depending on the error and condition. That's right, what seems like an ordinary nickel could be worth up to $10,000. If you've got a stash of old change lying around, it's time to take a closer look. You might be sitting on a hidden gem. Grab a magnifier, check for full steps, look for doubling, and see if you've got something extraordinary. Top 2, we're diving into a coin that many people overlook, but one that could surprise you if you know what to look for. It's the United States Jefferson nickel from the year 1972. Now, you might be thinking, it's just a regular 5-cent coin, right? It looks common, it's not silver, and you've probably seen dozens of them in pocket change. But let me tell you something. Hidden among these everyday coins are rare varieties and minting errors that make the 1972 Jefferson nickel a must-have for collectors. Let's start with the basics. The 1972 Jefferson nickel features the classic portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the front, designed by Felix Schlag. On the back, of course, is Monticello, Jefferson's famous home. But what makes this year special isn't the design. It's the details that hide beneath the surface. 1972 was a busy year for the U.S. Mint. Millions of these nickels were struck in both Philadelphia and Denver, and the vast majority went into circulation. These coins were produced quickly, and that rush created opportunities for mistakes that are now worth serious money. Let's talk about those rare errors and varieties. First up, double die obverse, also known as DDO. This is where the coin's front side was struck with a die that had a slight doubling during production. Some 1972 Jefferson nickels show doubling in the words, "In God We Trust," "Liberty," or even the date. These doubled images aren't just cool, they're highly collectible. Then we have off-center strikes. These happen when the coin blank isn't properly aligned in the press. The result is a nickel with part of the design missing or shifted to one side. The more off-center the strike, and the more visible the date, the more valuable the coin becomes. Another rare gem is the wrong planchet error. Imagine finding a 1972 nickel that was accidentally struck on a 1 cent or dime blank. These are extremely rare but incredibly valuable. They can be instantly recognized by their smaller size, odd color, or lighter weight. Let's not forget the full steps designation. This refers to the staircase on Monticello. A coin with 5 or 6 clearly visible steps, without any breaks or weak spots, is considered a full steps variety. These coins are often well struck and preserved, making them rare for 1972 nickels, especially in high grades. Now, if you think all nickels look the same, think again. Coins from the Denver Mint, marked with a D under the date, and those from Philadelphia, which had no mint mark in 1972, can both carry these errors. But some of the highest value coins are those struck with precision, high detail, and minimal flaws. Condition matters a lot. A worn, circulated nickel might only be worth its face value. But a pristine, uncirculated 1972 Jefferson nickel with sharp detail, no damage, and full steps can be worth far more. Combine that with a rare error like doubling or off-center strikes, and now you're holding something truly special. So here comes the question we all want answered. What is the real market value of the 1972 Jefferson nickel? A regular 1972 nickel in circulated condition is still worth just 5 cents. But a coin in mint state with full steps can be worth up to $500. Rare double die errors or dramatic off-center strikes have sold at auction for as much as $1,200, and a perfect full steps example graded MS67 or higher has reached $2,000 or more in rare cases. That's right, what looks like an ordinary 5-cent coin could actually be worth over $2,000, depending on its condition and the presence of rare errors. So, don't overlook that old nickel in your coin jar. Take a closer look. Check for doubling, examine the steps on Monticello, and see if you've got something unusual. You might just be holding a hidden treasure in your hand. Top 3, we're talking about might look simple, but there's much more to it than meets the eye. We're focusing on the 1985 Jefferson nickel, just a regular 5-cent coin at first glance. But don't let its ordinary appearance fool you. Behind that copper nickel shine lies a story of rarity, errors, and collector fascination that could turn this humble nickel into a valuable prize. The Jefferson nickel has been in circulation since 1938. Its iconic design features the side profile of Thomas Jefferson on the front and his beautiful Monticello home on the back. The design has stayed mostly the same for decades, but every year brings its own quirks, and 1985 is no exception. By 1985, the U.S. Mint had advanced significantly in coin production. But no process is perfect, and it's the imperfections that collectors hunt for. While millions of Jefferson nickels were minted that year, especially from the Philadelphia and Denver mints, only a very small percentage of them are truly worth more than face value. And that's where things get exciting. What makes some 1985 nickels so valuable? It all comes down to condition, rarity, and most importantly, errors. Let's start with condition. If you've got a 1985 nickel that's been circulating for years, scuffed, worn, or scratched, it's most likely still worth 5 cents. But if you have a mint state coin, one that looks like it just left the mint, then you might have something special. Coins that have never been used, never been touched much, and still have that original luster are the foundation of any valuable find, but there's one condition feature that collectors go wild for: the full step strike. On the reverse side of the Jefferson nickel, if you look closely at Monticello, you'll see a staircase. Most coins have blurred or worn steps, especially in coins from the 80s when quality control wasn't always perfect. But if you can find a 1985 nickel with 5 or 6 complete, uninterrupted steps, you've found what's called a full steps nickel. These are rare, especially from this year, and they bring in strong prices on the collector market. Now let's talk errors, the wild cards of the coin world. Some 1985 Jefferson nickels were struck with noticeable minting errors that dramatically increase their value. One of the most desirable is the double die obverse, where Jefferson's features or the lettering appears double due to a misalignment during the die creation process. You might notice doubling in the words, "In God We Trust," "Liberty," or even the date. There are also off-center strikes, where the coin blank was not correctly placed in the press. These coins appear misaligned, with parts of the design missing or shifted. The more off-center the strike, especially if the date is still visible, the more valuable the coin becomes. Another rare find is a struck-through error, where a piece of debris like cloth, grease, or even a small metal shard got between the die and the coin blank, leaving behind a strange impression or missing details. These are highly collectible because each one is unique. No two are ever exactly the same. You might also encounter coins with die cracks, cuds, or even wrong planchet errors, where the coin was accidentally struck on the wrong type of metal blank, such as one intended for a penny or dime. These errors are extremely rare but very desirable, and here's the best part: these rare varieties and errors don't just exist in museums or vaults. Some of them are still out there. In change jars. In old drawers. Maybe even in your wallet right now, but here's the key: knowing what to look for. Flip your 1985 nickels over. Look at the steps on Monticello. Check the edges. Inspect for doubling in the text. Look closely at the strike and see if anything seems off. Because what looks like a regular 5-cent coin might be worth much, much more. Now, let's get to the real numbers. A circulated 1985 Jefferson nickel with no errors is usually just worth its face value, 5 cents. But a pristine, uncirculated example with full steps can sell for $200 to $300, depending on its grade. Add in a rare error, like a double die or off-center strike, and you could be looking at a coin that sells for $600, $1,000, or even up to $1,500 at auction. That's right. One small coin from 1985 could be worth up to $1,500 if it checks all the right boxes. So before you spend that nickel or toss it into your change jar, take a moment. Pull out your magnifying glass, study it carefully, and see if you've got something extraordinary. Top 4, we're taking a closer look at a coin that many people have seen, spent, or tossed into a coin jar without a second thought: the 1975 Jefferson nickel. But here's what most people don't know: some of these nickels are not just pieces of change, they could actually be worth serious money. The Jefferson nickel has been part of American pocket change since 1938, featuring the familiar profile of Thomas Jefferson on the front, and his beautiful home, Monticello, on the back. While the design remained the same in 1975, the hidden value lies in the small details, rare errors, and quality of the strike. In 1975, millions of nickels were produced at the Philadelphia and Denver mints. The Philadelphia nickels have no mint mark, while those from Denver carry a small D just below the date. Because of the high mintage numbers, the majority of these coins aren't particularly rare, but as every coin collector knows, rarity isn't just about how many were made. It's about how many survived in exceptional condition, and how many contain mint errors that make them stand out. Let's talk about condition. Most 1975 nickels you'll find in change are worn down, scratched, or dull. But a small number have survived in pristine, uncirculated condition, and even fewer still with what collectors call full steps. That's the ultimate goal for Jefferson nickel collectors. If you look at the steps of Monticello on the reverse, a coin that shows all 5 or 6 steps sharply and clearly, without any breaks, is considered a full step strike. These are rare for this year and highly sought after. Now, let's get into what really makes some of these nickels valuable. Errors. Point 1. Of the most exciting and collectible errors to find is the double die obverse. This happens when the die that strikes the coin has a slight shift between strikes, creating a doubling effect in the design. On the 1975 nickel, that doubling can sometimes be seen in the words, "Liberty, in God we trust," or even the date. Under magnification, this doubling becomes very clear, and collectors will pay a premium for these coins. Another error to look for is the off-center strike. This is when the coin blank wasn't correctly aligned in the machine, resulting in part of the design being off to one side or cut off entirely. The more off-center the strike, and the more of the date that's visible, the more valuable the coin becomes. You might also find coins with clipped planchets, where part of the coin is missing in a crescent shape due to a cutting error. There are also die cracks, cuds, and struck-through errors, where foreign material like grease or metal shavings interfered during the minting process, creating unique and rare designs. But even without errors, high-grade 1975 nickels with sharp details and full steps are tough to find. That's because during this period, the U.S. Mint focused on quantity over quality, which led to many coins being poorly struck. Now let's talk numbers. The part everyone waits for. A worn, circulated 1975 Jefferson nickel is generally worth its face value. But if you find one in uncirculated condition with full steps, its value can jump to $100 to $200. A coin with a visible mint error, like a strong off-center strike or a double die, can sell for $500 to $1,000. And in rare cases, if you've got a top-graded coin with full steps and a unique error, the value can reach as high as $1,500 in auctions. So before you dismiss that old nickel in your pocket, take a closer look. You might just be holding a rare treasure worth far more than 5 cents. Top 5, and last rare coin. We're diving into a coin you've probably come across many times, but what if I told you that your 1987 Jefferson nickel might be worth far more than just 5 cents? That's right. This simple little coin could be hiding something special, and in this video, we're going to explore exactly what to look for. The Jefferson nickel has been a part of American change since 1938, featuring the profile of Thomas Jefferson on the front, and his home, Monticello, on the back. In 1987, the design didn't change, but certain versions of this coin became unexpectedly interesting to collectors. And not because of how they look at first glance, but because of what's hidden in the tiny details. In 1987, Jefferson nickels were produced at 2 major mints, Philadelphia and Denver. The Philadelphia coins have no mint mark, while the Denver coins carry a small D below the date. Together, these mints produced hundreds of millions of nickels that year. So you might ask, how could a coin made in such large numbers be rare? The answer lies in 2 things: condition and errors. Let's start with condition. Most coins you find in circulation are worn down, scratched, and have lost their shine. But if you come across a mint state 1987 nickel, one that's sharp, shiny, and looks brand new, you're off to a good start. And if that coin also shows something called full steps, it becomes even more desirable. So what are full steps? On the reverse of the Jefferson nickel, at the base of Monticello, there's a small staircase. In many nickels, these steps are worn or poorly struck. But if you find a 1987 nickel where all 5 or 6 steps are clearly visible, with no breaks, that's called a full step strike, and it's highly collectible. Coins with full steps are harder to find, especially in top condition, making them stand out in the collector market. Now let's talk about errors, the true wildcards that can turn an ordinary coin into a rare find. One of the most valuable errors on a 1987 nickel is the double die obverse. This occurs when the die that struck the coin had a misalignment, causing the words or numbers on the front of the coin, like Liberty or the date, to appear doubled. You might not notice it at first, but under magnification, this doubling becomes clear, and collectors love it. Another rare error is the off-center strike, where the coin wasn't properly aligned during minting. This causes the design to appear shifted or missing part of the detail. The more dramatic the off-center strike, especially if the date is still visible, the more valuable the coin becomes. Other collectible errors include clipped planchets, where a piece of the coin is missing, die cracks, or struck through errors, where foreign material interfered with the striking process. Each of these variations adds a layer of uniqueness and boosts value. So how do you know if your 1987 nickel is worth money? Look for sharp details, shiny luster, clear full steps, and any signs of doubling or striking errors. Even a small difference can mean a big change in value. Now, let's reveal what these nickels can actually be worth. In worn condition, most 1987 nickels are still worth just 5 cents. But a well-preserved, uncirculated example with full steps can be worth up to $100. If your coin has a clear mint error like a double die or off-center strike, it could be valued at $300 to $600. And the rarest examples, full steps with dramatic mint errors, have sold at auctions for over $1,000. So next time you're checking your change, don't ignore that old nickel. You might just be holding a small piece of hidden treasure. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you don't miss future coin discoveries. Until next time, happy collecting!